Your back hurts. Your eyes are tired. You woke up exhausted despite sleeping 8 hours. You have a dentist appointment next week, a prescription you refill every month, and a body that feels like it's slowly failing you. Now consider this. The humans who lived 15,000 years ago had none of that. No dentist, no pharmacy, no ergonomic chair. And yet, by almost every skeletal measure we have, they were stronger, leaner, and in far less chronic pain than you are right now. How is that possible? For most of the 20th century, scientists assumed prehistoric life was brutal and short. Thomas Hobbes famously described the life of early humans as solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. That phrase became gospel. We pictured hunched, broken figures dragging themselves through a miserable existence until something killed them at 30. The skeletons told a completely different story. When paleoanthropologists, scientists who study ancient human remains, began systematically analyzing bones from hunter-gatherer populations, they found something unexpected. The bones were dense, the teeth largely cavity-free. The joints showed minimal arthritis. The spines were straight, and the muscle attachment points, the small ridges on bone where muscles anchor, were dramatically more pronounced than anything you see on modern skeletons. These were not fragile people. These were people built like athletes because their entire life was athletic. Anthropologist Christopher Ruff at Johns Hopkins University has spent decades studying the cross-sectional geometry of ancient human leg bones, essentially measuring how thick and strong the bone shaft is. His findings, published across multiple studies, show a sharp and consistent decline in lower limb bone strength beginning around 10,000 years ago. That date is not random. It marks the beginning of agriculture. Before farming, your ancestors moved. Constantly. Not because they wanted to, not because they scheduled it, but because movement was survival. Richard Lee's landmark field study of the Kungsan people of the Kalahari Desert, conducted from 1963 onward and documented in his 1979 book, The Kungsan, found that adult men walked an average of 12 miles per day. Women walked 9. They climbed. They dug. They carried loads. They sprinted. They crouched for hours. They swam. The body was not a vessel for sitting. It was a tool used at full capacity every single day. Your body still carries that blueprint. The musculoskeletal system you were born with was designed by evolution for exactly that kind of life. The mismatch between that design and the life you actually live, chairs, cars, desks, couches, is called hypokinetic disease. The prefix hypo means under movement, and it contributes to back pain, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and osteoporosis at rates that hunter-gatherer populations essentially never experienced. But movement is only part of the story. Let's talk about food. Your ancestors did not eat the same thing every day. They could not. Seasons changed. Animals migrated. Plants fruited and died back. A hunter-gatherer diet was, by necessity, extraordinarily diverse. Anthropologist and researcher James Sussman, in his 2017 book, Affluence Without Abundance, documented how the Jew/Hwanzi people of the Kalahari consumed somewhere between 60 and 80 different plant species over the course of a year. 60 to 80. Compare that to the modern American diet, in which an estimated 60% of daily calories come from just 3 crops: wheat, corn, and rice. That variety matters enormously. Your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms living in your digestive tract, depends on dietary diversity to stay complex and healthy. A diverse microbiome is linked to stronger immunity, lower inflammation, better mental health, and reduced risk of autoimmune disease. A depleted microbiome, the kind that emerges from a narrow, ultra-processed diet, is linked to almost the reverse. Research published in the journal Science in 2022, drawing on stool samples preserved in ancient coprolites, fossilized human feces from populations dating back over 2,000 years, found that ancient gut microbiomes were significantly more diverse than those of modern industrialized populations. Species that were common in ancient humans are now essentially extinct in modern Western guts. We have lost microbial diversity the way we have lost biodiversity on the surface of the planet. Quietly, gradually, and with consequences we are only beginning to understand. And then, there is sugar. Ancient humans had access to sugar in only one reliable form: fruit. Seasonal, fibrous, whole fruit. The fructose came packaged with fiber, water, and micronutrients that slowed absorption and prevented the blood sugar spikes we now engineer into almost every processed food on the market. Honey existed, and early humans sought it aggressively. There is even a theory that the development of fire was partly driven by the desire to smoke out bee colonies. But honey was rare, a treat, not a staple. The average American today consumes roughly 17 teaspoons of added sugar every single day. The physiological machinery your body uses to process sugar was never designed for that volume. Now consider teeth. Bioarchaeologists, scientists who analyze ancient human remains for evidence of health and disease, examining pre-agricultural skulls consistently find the same thing: low rates of dental caries, the technical term for cavities. The teeth are worn, sometimes dramatically so from chewing tough fibrous foods, but they are largely intact and cavity-free. That changes immediately after agriculture. The moment populations switch to grain-based diets high in refined carbohydrates, cavity rates skyrocket. The skulls of early agricultural populations, documented extensively at sites like Çatalhöyük in what is now Turkey, show a striking increase in dental disease compared to their hunter-gatherer predecessors at the same geographic location. Same place, same people, different diet, entirely different teeth. So let's reconstruct a single day. You wake at sunrise. No alarm. Your body follows the natural light gradient, cortisol rising with the sun to wake you gently. The same hormonal pattern your biology was built for. You eat something from the night before, or you don't eat yet and don't notice much because your metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch between burning glucose and fat, is high. You move. You spend the morning walking, foraging, scouting. Your posture is varied. You squat. You crouch. You carry. You are not seated. Around midday, you rest in shade, eat something, talk. In the afternoon, you move again. By evening, you sit around a fire with the people you know. The light dims. Your melatonin rises naturally, without blue light suppression. You sleep deeply, your body cycling through full restorative sleep architecture, waking briefly in the middle of the night, a pattern researchers call biphasic sleep, before falling back under until the sun returns. That rhythm, those movements, that food, that social structure, it was not a lifestyle choice. It was just life. Here is the counterintuitive twist. Agriculture, the invention we celebrate as the foundation of civilization, the leap that enabled cities, writing, science, and this video, was, from a purely physical health standpoint, a catastrophe. Paleopathologist Clark Spencer Larson at Ohio State University has reviewed skeletal evidence from the agricultural transition across dozens of sites on multiple continents. The findings are remarkably consistent. When populations adopt farming, they get shorter, due to nutritional deficiencies. They develop more bone lesions indicating childhood anemia. They show more signs of infectious disease because living in dense permanent settlements with domesticated animals creates ideal conditions for pathogen transmission. Their dental health collapses. Their joints degrade faster. On almost every biological marker, the transition to agriculture made the body worse off. It made civilizations possible. It made individual bodies weaker. This does not mean you should abandon modernity. It means you should understand the mismatch between the body you were given and the world you live in. Your back hurts because your spine was designed for varied, constant movement, and you sit in one position for 9 hours. Your gut is struggling because it evolved for 80 plant species, and you are feeding it 8. Your sleep is fractured because your brain evolved to respond to firelight, which dims slowly. And instead, You stare at screens that blast the same frequency as noon sunlight until 10 at night. Your immune system is overactive or underactive because the microbial exposures that calibrated it in childhood, dirt, animals, diverse outdoor environments, were replaced with sanitized surfaces and antibacterial soap. None of this is your fault, but it is your body, and it is still running ancient software. The ancient humans who were stronger, leaner, and healthier than you were not superhuman. They were human, exactly as human as you are. The difference was not their genetics. Their genome was nearly identical to yours. The difference was context. Movement as the default, not the exception. Food as a seasonal, diverse, whole experience, not a manufactured product. Sleep governed by light. A body used the way it was built to be used. Your back still hurts, but now you know why.